this is a question 1 prompt. It says, carefully read the following poem by Mary Oliver, then write a well-organized essay in which you analyze how Oliver conveys the complex relationship between the tree and the family through the use of literary techniques. So I know when I'm reading this poem that I'm looking for the complex relationship between the tree and the family, and I'm looking for how I know. So here's the poem. My mother and I debate. We could sell the Black Walnut Tree to the lumberman and pay off the mortgage. Likely some storm anyway will churn down its dark boughs, smashing the house. We talk slowly, two women trying in a difficult time to be wise. Roots in the cellar drains, I say, and she replies that the leaves are getting heavier every year and the fruit harder to gather anyway. But something brighter than money moves in our blood, an edge sharp and quick as a trowel that wants us to dig and sow. So we talk, but we don't do anything. That night I dream of my fathers out of Bohemia, filling the blue fields of fresh and generous Ohio with leaves and vines and orchards. What my mother and I both know is that we'd crawl with shame in the emptiness we'd made in our own and our father's backyard. So the Black Walnut Tree swings through another year of sun and leaping winds, of leaves and bounding fruit, and month after month, the whip crack of the mortgage. So the first thing I notice here is that our author mentions the word debate right at the beginning. So already I know that there's some kind of conflict involved with the relationship between the tree and the family. And immediately we're introduced to what this debate is. It's whether or not they want to sell the tree or not. So this is the center of the debate. It's clear that they're in some sort of like financial trouble because they're talking about selling the tree to pay off the mortgage. And then here they start trying to justify it. So it says, likely some storm anyway will churn down its dark boughs, smashing the house. So this is like their justification for selling the tree. This idea that it could smash the house, it's almost like it's dangerous. Now, whether or not they really believe that is unlikely, but it's, again, they're just trying to justify selling the tree to get money to pay the mortgage. It says that they talk slowly, and they're trying in a difficult time to be wise, which proves that you can tell that they're not very certain about selling the tree if they're trying to justify it so hard. More justifications here when the speaker talks about roots in the cellar drains, leaves are getting heavier, the fruit is harder to gather. So we've got lots of justifications for why it's okay if they sell this tree. But then we have this shift. But something brighter than money moves in our blood. So this word here, but, this is how we know there's a shift. Usually when you see the word but, there's some sort of shift in the tone of the poem. And so up until this point, we've been trying to justify selling this tree to pay off the mortgage. But now we're not so sure because something brighter than money moves in our blood. And she talks about how because of this, they talk, but they don't do anything. So they ultimately decide not to sell the tree. She talks about dreaming of her fathers, filling the blue fields with leaves and vines and orchards. And here's what really solidifies this decision. What my mother and I both know is that we'd crawl with shame in the emptiness we'd made in our own and our father's backyard. So this is why they'll never sell, or why they can't sell. Because this tree, and notice fathers, that apostrophe is after the S on purpose, so that's plural. This tree is equivalent to their heritage. Oops, I spelled that right. Or their legacy. It's part of the family. So because of that, the Black Walnut Tree swings through another year of sun and leaping winds, of leaves and bounding fruit, and month after month, the whip crack of the mortgage. So that's a pretty vivid description, whip crack. and it shows that they're pretty desperate for this money, and yet they're still not willing to sell the tree. And the reason is because, I'm going to change colors here. The tree is family or heritage, legacy. Basically, what they've decided is that their heritage is more important than money. And this right here is my overall meaning. Whatever I decide to discuss in this essay about the relationship between the tree and the family, I know I'm going to come back to this idea that the symbolism of the tree being a part of their family and standing for their heritage is more important than the money they would make if they sold the tree for their lumber. And so now I have a starting point and something to go on when